Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to this festive event for a really good guy that we're all here to celebrate today. It's nice to see such a good crowd. Along with the people that are here, there are several, I'm not going to go through and read them all, but several letters to Dennis saying how much everybody hopes you have a great day and that you're certainly worthy of any and all that gets given to you and that they appreciate you. A couple of words came to mind. I was reading over these, and I'll just take a minute before we get Dot up here. But I noticed a few things. A message kept coming through on all of them. And it talked about things like tireless advocate for the region, making the best to make his community viable and nice to live in. And then one in particular said, committed to enhancing the world around him. I think maybe that describes Dennis the best. He always makes that effort for other people to be happy. Pretty nice. So anyway, without further ado, I'm not going to ramble on. We've got a couple of people who would like to speak on behalf, I guess, of all of us in a way. So I'm going to ask Dot Defio if she'd mind coming up, or you can stay at your seat and speak.
I'm going to stay sitting.
That works.
Dennis, move over a little this way. I want to talk to you.
That way you have to see me.
I should sit there, but
I got my note here. Dennis, you may think I'm insensitive to mention my own award, but I do so for a purpose. I want to repeat something I said that day. I said that I thought there were others in this community who deserved the award more than I. And Dennis, I was speaking to you and of you when I said that.
what a nice thing to say.
You are so deserving of this reward. I have before this occasion called you Mr. Ignace, and with good reason. You have been a good and constant ambassador for Ignace for many years. You have tooted our horn wherever and however you can. You have been a driving force in so many things that have happened in Ignace over the years and continue to happen. Week after week, for many years, you and Jackie have published the Driftwood. Our little paper lets us know what has happened and what will happen in the town. Your editorials are even and informative. Thank you from your readers. You have put in the time. You have never said it can't be done. You have taken criticism. But remember, the only people who are never criticized are the people who do nothing. And Dennis, that is not you. It is time you were honored. So Dennis,
Amen.
I give you my warm, sincere congratulations. Now I should warn you, before I leave here today, and no matter how you struggle, I'm going to give you a big schmoosh.
Like Dale, Dennis's brother, to come up, say a few words, please.
Jackie was just saying, and I'm sorry to report that the Queen can't make it today, but Dennis's grandkids from Ottawa called this morning to ask if she was going to be here, and Dennis was going to meet her, so I'll have to just tell them that the reps were here, Jackie. Well, a couple things before I start. I was a little intimidated when I looked at the schedule. They've got me squeezed between Dot and Lee, two medal winners, and I thought, what have I got to do with this? Boy, I'm his brother, we can do this. So Lee said, don't worry, we can get you a replica, a little plastic, it'll keep you happy. And I'm not hard to satisfy, because I might do it. And Dot, were you looking at my notes? A couple things there, but you didn't cover all my terms. So. You can go first, yeah. So I wasn't sure if I should do a roast or a toast to Dennis, and I think at the end of the day it's probably more of a roast. We're not sure where it's going to be, but we'll see. And I was told too, don't keep it too long, and I'll pick on my younger sister, Kathy. You can wave your hand. Dennis's sister.
And yours.
We decided on the way up that I was told I'd have 2 or 3 minutes, and I said, let's go take 4 or 5. So we said, if we're not really time constrained, I can do it. If we're going to have to do it in 2 minutes. My sister will do it because I talk a lot. She talks quickly. So do you want the condensed version or can I stay out? We're good. I used up a minute and a half already, so let's get at it. Okay, one of the criterion for nominees for a Queen's Jubilee Medal is that he or she, quote, has made a significant contribution to a particular province, territory, region, or community. Over the past 50 years, Dennis has met that benchmark through his activities in Northwestern Ontario, and particularly in Ignace. That 50-year number has not been plucked out of the air because, as a preteen, I remember being recruited to help build an ice structure to promote a winter carnival sponsored by the youth club. Guess who was leading the youth club? Any guesses?
Dennis.
Right over here, exactly. In fact, I believe that Dennis would have become a volunteer and leader at an earlier age if he had not been needed to attend high school away from Ignace. And Todd touched on this, but if I had to use one word to describe Dennis and his approach to life, it would be passionate. Many times I've mentioned that I envied his complete dedication to interest, work, and causes that he has chosen. Let's focus on interests and hobbies first, although both words may be too weak to capture his commitment. My first major buy-in to one of his ideas involved a week-long canoe trip at the end of a summer. Not an overnight camp-out, but a 7-day excursion. I think they got a chuckle out of the young bucks complaining about their aching muscles after the first couple of days. We were young and we were in shape, but we were not in canoeing shape, I can tell you that. But I guess the experience couldn't have been too bad because we did similar trips over the next several summers. Dennis has always had a love and an aptitude for photography. He will travel miles, wait for hours, or come back several times just to get that one perfect shot. In fact, I believe it was one of those canoe trips that I crawled out of the tent one early morning and saw him lying in the wet grass. Oh, what now? Upon further examination, I saw that he was photographing a pattern of dew on a cobweb. Got to film it before the sun burns the dew off, you know? You could do it in an hour and sleep in. Photography possibly led Dennis into another hobby, the locating and documenting of pictographs. I joined him on a few outings to view some of his new findings and usually enjoyed myself, except for the fact that, and Abby would appreciate this, we were never allowed to fish. We're out here to look, go home. That was it. Beautiful lake. His most recent hobby, or should I say avocation, and Mark, my brother, corrected me on the way up, since Dennis is a recognized avocational archaeologist, so he is actually not an amateur, as I've had it here, is the discovery and documentation of long ago native encampments. He definitely has an eye for spotting relatively minute objects mixed in with pine needles and stones on a rocky island or other ideal camping spots. More than once I've been chastised for stepping on hidden, unseen to my eye, artifacts as I walked ahead of him. Oh, just a warning. By the way, if he invites you out to explore for artifacts in the shoreline or forest that has been newly exposed by a forest fire, don't wear any good clothes. Certainly don't wear any new clothes. You end up black at the end of the day. In his working life, Dennis began, along with Jackie, as a teacher. I've never had the opportunity to sit in on one of his classes, but I have had unsolicited feedback from many of his ex-students who are now adults. The common theme for most of their comments and compliments was that Mr. Smyk made their learning interesting. He would try novel experiments or different approaches to teaching a topic. It may not always have been by the book. Today he continues to teach, educate as a supply teacher, and I bet that the learning is just as interesting. As Todd mentioned, Jackie and Dennis have produced their weekly newspaper Driftwood for more than 40 years. The newspaper is produced 51 times a year with only the week between Christmas and New Year taken as downtime. Several years ago I witnessed their dedication to making sure that the paper got printed. Dennis had just had surgery, and when I went to visit him, he was typing away on his laptop, putting the paper to bed. Evidently in this electronic age, you can produce an edition from most anywhere. And this again, I'm glad Todd mentioned, I think it's really important. Driftwood is not only a business, I think it is a large piece of the social fabric of Ignace. It takes the pulse of the community as a reference to what is happening locally and what is planned in town. Local people read the news, and many are the news, through their volunteer activities that, needless to say, get well reported. I think that a good barometer of the value of Driftwood is the number of ex-residents and summer visitors and residents who still subscribe. Lastly, I would like to highlight the main reason that we are here today. Dennis's volunteerism. I suggest that being a paid volunteer and got minimum wage for all those years and had it deposited into a bank account for all these years, he'd be a fairly wealthy man. Just think about 50 years of interest compounding. Hard to imagine. He's devoted thousands of hours to community and regional activities. Where to start? And I won't enumerate them because we only have an afternoon. remember looking at his resume many years ago. I stopped counting his volunteer affiliations when I ran out of fingers and toes. I worked with Dennis in his recent role as Community Emergency Management Coordinator. In one of our meetings of members from across the Northwest, Dennis offered to do a presentation to pass the time in the evening, again, on archaeological sites. Earlier, he spent years with the fire department, including time as chief. He has been a counselor on several occasions, dating back to when he and Jackie were starting their family and time was at a premium, but he's willing to give to the community. He has sat on numerous government and volunteer boards, both within Ignace and in the region. Whether it's planning a community celebration or parade, repairing White Otter Castle, developing our part of the Trans-Canada Trail, presenting Ignace memorabilia to politicians, or promoting Ignace at any meeting or any other forum, Dennis will take on the task with the same eagerness and interest that he had in those early years when he got us to carve ice blocks. Over the years, many people have said to me that your brother is a real ambassador for Ignace. That he truly was and continues to be today. If they're poster children, or should I say adults, the Queen's Jubilee Medal, Dennis would certainly be one of them. On behalf of Kathy, Mark, and our families, Dennis, congratulations on the recognition that you richly deserve.
Good day, everyone. I've been invited to come up and say a few words, and I knew everybody else was going to have it all said before I got here, so they did so much of an excellent job, and it has been really good what they have said and promoted for Dennis, and I am certainly behind every word they said. I've known Dennis. I remember when I first moved here in 1978. I came here. Dennis's paper come out, and the big thing back then was look for the driftwood, the piece of wood in the hidden driftwood in the paper. And we always, that was a weekly thing at our house, to find the piece of driftwood where he had it hid. So it has been a pleasure. Dennis has been a great inspiration to all of our community, and very outgoing and helpful, and whatever he could do, he did, and we certainly appreciate it. It is a great thing to give him that medal. It is the best thing ever. Thank you, Dennis.
Good afternoon. Thank you everybody for coming. It is an honor and a privilege to be here today to present a Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal. As many of you are likely aware, the year 2012 marked the 60th anniversary of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth's accession to the throne. During that time, her humanitarianism has been a positive influence for people across the globe. She's inspired millions. She has dedicated her reign to public service, and in honor of her 60th anniversary, or her Diamond Jubilee, this honor was created to recognize those who have distinguished themselves through their outstanding contribution to society. When I was asked to nominate a small group of individuals for this exceptionally special recognition, I looked at very specific criteria. It was my intention that I nominate individuals who have demonstrated a long-standing commitment to improving the lives of others. I sought out individuals who have distinguished themselves not for a single act of kindness or generosity, but those who have dedicated their entire lifetimes to helping others. People who had not only touched the lives of others through their actions, but who have improved the lives through mentorship and leadership. As I sought individuals who asked little or nothing in return for their generosity, kindness, and sacrifice, I came to one person. Today's recipient immediately stood out as someone who is deserving of this honor, and not just this honor, but as a kind of individual who this award was created to recognize. Dennis Smyk has dedicated his life to Ignace and the surrounding area, and in so many ways, it's difficult to mention all of the things that he has contributed. But I'm going to try to list a few. In the 1960s, he saw the need for a safe place for young people living in the community to gather, and that led to the creation of the Ignace Youth Club. He served as a town councillor and a mayor for many years. He served as a firefighter and chief of the Ignace Fire Department, helping to protect those in the community he cared so deeply about. If there was a committee being formed or a group that needed assistance, they knew that they could count on Dennis to provide skills and input. Among the committees that he sat on are the Ignace Economic Development Committee, the Local Concerned Citizens Committee, the Ignace Youth Group, the Recreation Committee, and the Ignace and Area Business Association. He chaired the Friends of the White Otter Castle Committee while the site was undergoing major renovations. And in his spare time, if he had any, He has done extensive work preserving our region's history through his love of archaeology. This led him to discover numerous invaluable artifacts and historical sites that we can use to gain a better understanding of the history of our shared land. He has also hosted workshops and seminars on the subject to help share his passion with his fellow community members. And of course, in partnership with his wife Jackie, who is also worthy of special recognition for her own efforts, he created the Ignace Driftwood, and he has worked tirelessly to chronicle the events and the lives of those living in Ignace for more than 40 years, never failing to miss an edition. And if you take a minute to think about that list, you realize that Dennis Smyk has had a major impact on all aspects of life in the community, and that's why we've gathered here today, and that's to say thank you. So on that note, I'd like to call you up to receive this prestigious award, and on behalf of the Queen and the Province of Ontario and myself, I say congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Do you say some words?
I'm not going to speak too much. I'm fighting the flu, and I'm trying to hold my breath. But one thing, last fall, I was told by someone that I was in line for this medal for running the newspaper. I said, no. Jackie's part of this. We've been married for 50, I've known her for 54 years now.
44.
44. It seems like 50.
He aged me.
But I think she deserves a pat on the back too. And Peter, do you have those?
What did you do?
One of us is on the ball. It's okay.
Oh.
You can't have a medal, but you can have
Oh, thank you so
flowers.
much.
Thank you for being part of my life.
I need to hug you. Thank you. I love you.